Welcome everyone to another tutorial by Inkspit Designs. I'm Jason. Today we're going to talk about vinyl decals and actually take you through the entire process of creating a vinyl decal, right up, all the way from the concept of it to the design and right on through to actually cutting it out on a vinyl cutting machine, a vinyl plotter. So some of the equipment you might have might be different, but the same kind of concepts will apply. So let's jump right in here into Illustrator, and we're going to grab the text tool. We're going to put some text down, and let's enlarge that. Grab the selection tool, and we're going to hold the shift key to enlarge this, keep it in perspective, keep the proportions right. And we're actually going to duplicate this by holding down the Alt key on a PC or the Option key on a Mac. Drag straight down. Let's change this word. Whoop. Okay. Shrink this by holding the shift key again. Match it up under our other word. Okay. So we've got our text there. Let's actually add a graphic. We're going to add this ink splatter that we have here. Let's give it a red color, just so that we can see it for now. We're actually going to change the final color. Let's enlarge it, bring it up to a pretty good size, so that we can see the entire ink splatter around all of the text. That looks good. Let's bring all this into the center of the canvas. Okay. Now as you can see, the graphic is over the text, and we don't want that. We actually want it sitting behind. So we're going to come over here to the Layers panel, and we're going to create a new layer, put it below the one we're working on. And with that graphic selected, you can see this little blue large pixel here. Basically we drag that down and that will put it on the layer below. So now as we can see, the graphic is sitting below the text, which is what we want. Okay, let's select these two pieces of text. We're actually going to turn them into outlines. Right click on them, choose Create Outlines. And we want to add a border around these so that we can actually have that cut out, so you can see the difference between the graphic and the text. So come over to the Appearance panel. We're going to add a fill. You can see our black fill there. Let's add a second fill here, and let's change it to a green color. And we don't see anything yet because that is sitting directly below the black fill and the text. But once we go to the effects menu here and go up to Path and Offset Path, we're going to choose round, and we see it there, and that's actually a lot larger effect than what we want. So let's hit the down arrow key until we get what we like. We want this to be a pretty small effect, maybe right there. Let's go with that. Now as you can see, the text is selected, but we aren't able to select that second that border that we just created. So with the text selected, let's actually go up here to the Object menu and go to Expand Appearance, and that expands everything. Now if you notice here, if you can see, when we zoom in, with everything selected, these paths are actually crossing over each other, and you can really see it in outline mode. You see where the lines come and they cross over each other, and this other line is the graphic. So everything's crossing each other, and that doesn't work very well for cutting it out on a vinyl cutter. These are the actual lines that are going to be cut. So what we want to do is we want to go back out. We want to choose the text here, and we want to go into the Pathfinder, and the command we're going to use is the Merge command. So once we choose that, everything that is the same colors actually merges with each other. So now if we look at this in outline mode, let's actually turn off this the ink splatter graphic for now. We can see that everything merged there, so those lines are no longer crossing over each other, which is what we want. Okay, so now let's bring back that ink splatter graphic. Let's make sure everything's aligned. Let's select everything, go to the Align panel, and horizontally align it so we have it lined up. Alright, and now we're going to do the same thing actually, because if we look again in outline mode, you can see these lines running all through the text of the ink splatter. And so we're going to select everything and go back over to the Pathfinder tool here, and we're going to choose merge again. And now if we look at it, those lines, those paths that were cutting through all the text are actually gone. It merged those things together, which is the effect or the desired result that we want. Okay, now let's get in a little bit tighter, and we're actually going to select just this border that we created, the green border. And I can select just a portion of that and actually go up to the select menu, choose same, and go to fill color. That will select everything that is that green color on the canvas, and then just hit the delete key. And actually what that does is completely delete that color. It's not just you're not able to see it, but it's actually gone. And the way we can test that is if we go to the layers panel, create another layer, put it all the way at the bottom of the stack. Let's choose a rectangle here, and if we actually draw a rectangle, we can see that it is below the text as well as the ink splatter, and we can actually see the green color through the portion that's cut out, the outline that's cut out all around the text. And if we change that, we can tell that it's truly cut out because we get any color that we change it to. Okay, so now we have everything cut the way we want. Now if you can look in here and you can see some pieces if some things are kind of wonky a little bit. Some pieces that you might want to take out, maybe they don't fit. So maybe I might take out that color. And again, so you see some things here, they're going to show up in outline mode that you might not see in the regular mode because they're a white color, they're not selected. So make sure you check all of that, and the outline mode is a great way to do that. I'm going to select that and delete that, because everything that you can see here is going to cut the exact way that you see it. So make sure that's how you want it. Take out these little pieces that don't look like they fit. Just do it to taste. Do it to what you think looks good. And then actually, we're going to end up. Let me select that red on the graphic and actually go to select same and choose fill color again. The red is entirely selected, and we're going to choose a black because we're actually going to cut it out in a black vinyl. So this is how it's going to ultimately look. All right, and there you have it. There's a portion of or the part of the graphic that you've actually designed that we're going to actually cut out. So we'll head to that step next. Okay, so now that we have our design all ready to go, we're actually going to send it to the vinyl cutter, and this is a part that will be different for many of you, and different depending on the cutter you use, the software, all those kinds of things. So we are actually using a Graphtec CE5060, and Graphtec puts out a free plugin that works with Illustrator. So we actually have the text selected. We go up to the file menu, and Cutting Master 3 is the actual plugin that they put out. So this won't show up in Illustrator natively, but if you have the plugin installed from Graphtec, you'll see this, and then you just choose Send to Cutting Master 3. So whatever software you have, just send it to the software, the actual, whether it's third-party software or something that integrates with Illustrator. And now we see it showing up here in the actual cut program. We can change the rotation on this, and so this square that we're looking at represents, or this white canvas represents, the actual width of the vinyl that we have room to cut on, which in this case is 13 inches wide. Lots of different options here to change the size. You can actually change all kinds of things, dimensions, mirroring, those type of things. We're going to add a weed border to this, which is basically the software tells the cutter to cut a border around, an extra border around the graphic, so it just makes it easier when you're pulling out the excess vinyl. And we'll be looking at that in the final product. So we're going to add one of those, and you can actually here make as many copies as you want. So here if I choose, I can be adding however many rows, however many columns. Let's go ahead and do 2. Looks like 2 will fit nicely on this piece here. And that is pretty much it. That's all we need to do in this case. And if we see here, our cutter is ready to go, and all we do is click send, and it will head over to the cutter and start cutting the vinyl graphic. So now, as you can see, the vinyl cutter is actually cutting out the graphic that we designed. It works just like a printer. Instead of there being a print head that ink is coming out of, it's actually a small little knife in the head on the vinyl cutter, and it's actually tracing and cutting out all those lines that we created in Illustrator to create our graphic. And then next we'll go ahead and weed out the extra vinyl, which is taking out all the excess vinyl that we don't need to have our graphic, and then we'll have it to put on something, and we'll take you through that process next. Okay, so we're going to weed this graphic, which is to pull out the excess vinyl that we cut. And just start from an end basically, and go kind of slow because you don't want to pull out any of the small pieces. And just keep an eye on where everything is. Use your tool to weeding tool to kind of guide things if some things are kind of sticking. And obviously the smaller you cut the graphic, the harder this will be, and little pieces will happen. So you can't cut things too small, depending on, you got to keep that in mind when you're designing it, what size you're going to cut it out. Piece pull up, just gotta keep it down. Same thing there with part of the ink spot. Alright, and then you just pull out the center portions of some of these letters, the center pieces that didn't come out. And I believe that we got it all. So that's how it's going to look after you've weeded it, and we'll go ahead and add the topper to that so that we can place it on our surface. Okay, now that we have everything weeded, we can see the graphic there. All the excess vinyl is taken off and it's all ready to go. We can add it to the application tape we have laid out here. Transfer tape, we actually just lay it down, just like so, making sure there's no creases or wrinkles in it. We're going to use this scraper. We just start from the middle and scrape it so that it's completely smooth. There's no bubbles. And then once we have that, we just take our scissors, obviously cut along the edge and trim it. And I'll actually cut them in half so they're ready to go and easy to use. And once we've done that, there's both of the decals all ready to go, application tape on them, and ready for sale, ready to give to somebody or to stick on something, whether it's a car or a wall or a piece of wood, metal, anything, any surface these will go on. So, thanks for being with us today for this tutorial on how to create a vinyl decal from the very start to the finished product. Check out our YouTube page and subscribe, and check us out on inkspit.com.